Police 911.
There's a Mercedes out here. Some kids are outside. I said that mom is in the car and that she's dead.
We'll go to the doctor.
14-year-old Nino and his younger brother Ryan, just 10, had no idea that the search for their missing mother would end in tragedy.
It used to be her boyfriend until he beat her. All I remember is hearing she got beat and she got...
What they discovered that night would leave permanent scars on their hearts and launch a homicide investigation that would shake even the most experienced detectives.
Naked, 2 blankets, covering her up.
It was late on Friday, March 20th, 2015, when a 911 call was made from the Stonecrest apartment complex in Tulsa. Responding officers arrived just before midnight and were met with a disturbing scene in the parking lot. Inside a 2001 Mercedes SUV lay the lifeless, unclothed body of a woman. She had been placed in the rear hatch and covered with 2 blankets, an eerie attempt to conceal what had clearly been a brutal crime.
No keys, no cell phone.
And who's that gal?
Car is checked back 2 specs with Michelle.
There were no keys, no phone, and no signs she had ever been there willingly. The woman was soon identified as 34-year-old Michelle Lynn Spence, a single mother who worked as a dental assistant to support her 2 sons. She had been reported missing earlier that day. Her body showed signs of strangulation, and the medical examiner later confirmed she'd been dead for nearly 20 hours by the time police arrived.
The kids discovered her.
Oh my God.
I feel like her neck looks kind of swollen.
Is this a bruise?
That's a bruise.
But what made the case even more heartbreaking was who had found her. Her own children. The day before, Michelle had dropped off her sons at their father's home after work. That would be the last time they saw her alive. When these Saways they couldn't reach her the next day, they grew increasingly worried.
As they're walking, they recognize the van. And then find her in there, and then she goes and find someone to call police.
So, as far as we know, there's no reason for her to be in this complex?
Correct.
Okay.
By nightfall, their grandfather drove them to her house. The lights were still on, and the TV played in the background, but Michelle was nowhere to be found. Sensing something was wrong, the boys decided to look for her themselves. They walked nearly 2 miles before arriving at the Stonecrest apartment complex, where Michelle had a friend. They searched around, calling out her name, and were about to leave when they noticed something chilling.
What do you want to do with the boys?
Gonna need them downtown.
See if they can fill in some blanks about Mom and Mom's behavior and see what the kids can tell us.
The kids are going to be tore up. They just saw their mom dead. But they are our best shot at this point of finding out what happened and who we're after.
Michelle's car, parked nearby. Inside, under a pile of blankets, was the horror they never expected to find.
Okay, so you guys are at Dad's house Thursday. Friday, come and go. Did you hear or talk to your mom? Is that unusual? Does you guys normally talk to her every day, or? Yeah.
Michelle's violent end left a gaping hole in her sons' lives. What led her to that parking lot, and who was responsible, would soon become the focus of a relentless investigation. When Nino and Ryan stumbled upon their mother's lifeless body, their first instinct was to run and find someone to call the police.
What made you guys go looking for her?
I felt like something was off.
When you got home, your mom's not there. What'd you do?
I went to go look for her. I was kind of worried for her.
They had been searching for her, hoping she might be at the home of someone she had known for years, Renisa Bramblett.
Why did you go that way?
We're going to go see if she was at her friend's house.
And what's her friend's name?
Inez.
And you've been there before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Renez, do you know his last name?
Bramlett.
How long has your mom known Renez?
Since I was like in 5th grade.
Okay, what grade are you in now?
8th.
Okay. Did you guys ever make it to Renez's house or apartment?
No. I called him, but he never picked up the phone.
Michelle had known Renise since Nino was in 5th grade, and the boys were familiar with him, having visited his place before. But when they tried calling him, there was no answer.
Tell me more about this Renez. Is this your mom's friend or boyfriend?
It used to be her boyfriend till he beat her in the hospital
When did he do that?
2 years ago. All I remember is hearing she got beat and she got,
By him? Or the police called?
I don't know.
Renisa wasn't just a friend. He was someone from Michelle's past, someone with a troubling history. Once her boyfriend, he had been physically abusive. According to Nino, the abuse had taken place about 2 years earlier, and though Michelle had survived it, she had continued to stay in contact with him.
You may not know this answer, but why would your mom continue to be friends with him?
He said he wouldn't do it again.
When did I see him?
Monday. At our house.
It was the kind of decision that puzzled even seasoned detectives. Bernice had apparently promised her it wouldn't happen again. Still, the fact that Michelle had been killed and found in the same apartment complex where he lived could no longer be considered coincidence. On the day of her disappearance, Bernice had reportedly visited Michelle at her home. Nino recalled seeing him there on Monday. The visit didn't raise any concerns at the time, and nothing had seemed unusual. But as the pieces of the puzzle started coming together, more questions began to surface. Questions that pointed back to Renise.
She had one friend named Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know his last name though.
Is there any reason for her car to be in that particular apartment complex? Does she know anybody in there? Anything else, man, you know that would help me find out what happened to your mom?
Michelle, it turned out, also had another male friend named Michael. But Nino didn't know much about him. What troubled detectives most was the location of Michelle's vehicle. Why was it left at that apartment complex? Aside from Renise, Michelle didn't appear to know anyone else who lived there. In the middle of the investigation, Nino's phone rang.
Hello? What's up, Stu?
He deleted his Facebook page. Totally. His Facebook page is gone.
It was Michelle's sister, Stephanie, calling with news that added more suspicion. She told detectives that she had been messaging Renise on Facebook just hours earlier, and suddenly, he had deleted his entire account. That single action raised immediate red flags.
Hey, Stephanie.
Yes.
Hey, my name's John Brown. I'm with the Boston Police Department. How are you?
Fine, how are you? I was messaging Renee back and forth on Facebook earlier, and he just deleted his Facebook page.
Is there a way I can talk to you tonight?
Yes, for sure, anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Stephanie later shared that after learning of Michelle's death, she had reached out to Renise. He claimed he hadn't spoken much with Michelle lately, but then abruptly deleted his Facebook profile after their exchange.
The cops had went to Ken's house and told Ken that they had found Michelle dead in her car. And that's all he told me. I said, I'm gonna get a hold of Renez. Because Renez is always around Michelle.
To her, it felt like he was hiding something. And detectives couldn't ignore the possibility that she was right. From the moment Stephanie learned that Michelle had been found lifeless and naked in the back of her car, she was certain who was responsible. Renise Bramblett.
There's something to be known about Michelle, he's gonna know it. So I messaged him. I said, hey, this was at 12:24. I said, have you seen Michelle? He said, no, I seen her Monday. We don't talk much nowadays. He said, she's got different guys she's seen nowadays. I said, she's dead. The cops found her dead in her car. And he said, oh my God. He said, my phone's about to die. I'm so up over this. And then he deleted his Facebook.
To her, the scene was all too familiar, hauntingly similar to an incident from 2 years earlier that nearly ended Michelle's life. Back in 2013, Michelle had confided in Stephanie about a brutal assault at the hands of Renise.
As soon as I found out that she was in the back of her car naked and dead, I knew automatically right there it was Renez.
What?
He's done this to her in the past. He her in the back of that parking lot over there near Riverside.
The two had gotten into an argument that escalated into violence. Michelle said Renice had thrown her into the back of a car, tied her up with the scarf around her neck, and repeatedly beat her. She told Stephanie she had started to lose consciousness, saying that every time she tried to sit up, he struck her again. At one point, she genuinely believed she wouldn't survive the night. Somehow, Michelle managed to escape and reached out to Stephanie for help.
They ended up getting into an argument. She said he threw her in the back of the car and he tied her up with the scarf that she had around her neck. She said, I was seeing black. She said every time I'd sit up, he would hit me again. She said, I literally thought I was going to die that night. It was bad.
She was terrified, injured, and barely able to walk. Stephanie rushed her to the hospital, where police were called and a report was filed.
And I took her to the hospital that morning. She couldn't walk. The police came and did a report. And I don't know exactly what happened because they had made me leave the room.
But despite the severity of the attack, Michelle chose not to press charges. Her reasons were unclear, but it became evident that her connection to Renice had not ended there. According to Stephanie, Renice had a manipulative grip on Michelle. He knew how to lure her back with gifts and affection, sending flowers weekly to her workplace, showering her with presents, and refusing to let her walk away.
So why does she get back with him if
Because
this happened?
she likes the gifts and the money. He's always given her presents. He used to have flowers delivered to her every week at work. He keeps giving and giving and giving to her.
Even when Michelle tried to distance herself, he continued to harass her, damaging her car, flattening her tires, and putting sugar in her gas tank when he felt rejected.
And he gets to that point where he's not feeling like he's getting anything out of Michelle, and then he goes back for revenge. He's flattened her tires multiple times, put sugar in her gas tank. It's all about he's wanting sex and Michelle doesn't want to give him sex. We've told her in the past, he's gonna hurt you. You need to stop. We've all told her this.
So in your mind, there's only one person responsible for what happened to your sister.
Michelle's family had warned her repeatedly that staying in contact with Renice could be dangerous. Now, with her death echoing the horror of her previous assault, Stephanie believed the truth was clear. Michelle had once again fallen victim to the same man. As suspicion continued to mount, investigators knew they needed more than gut feelings to move the case forward. The evidence was leaning heavily toward one man, Renice Bramblett. But the detectives needed solid proof. Their first step was to dive into the past. They began by pulling up old police records and quickly came across a report from 2013. It confirmed that Michelle had indeed once filed a complaint against Renice. According to her sister's account, he had choked Michelle with a scarf during a violent altercation. However, the report itself didn't reflect the full details of the assault, suggesting that Michelle had ultimately chosen not to pursue prosecution. The case had quietly faded away, just like her cries for help. But that wasn't all. As they dug deeper, detectives uncovered a darker history.
And we're going to go back to 2013, when our victim made a police report alleging that she was assaulted by Mr. Bramblett. According to her sister, she had a scarf on, and the suspect used a scarf to choke her.
I see nothing in here that alleges her.
Looking at the police reports, I believe the victim did not want to prosecute at the time. She decided to let everything just drop.
Renice had previously served nearly 4 years in prison for assault and battery, only being released in 2007. His past was littered with violence, particularly against women. The pattern was hard to ignore. Now the investigators needed to establish a timeline. Where had Michelle been before she was killed? And who had seen her last? They headed to Renice's apartment to question him, but he wasn't home. While waiting, detectives began searching the area and immediately noticed something troubling. Drag marks in the dirt and traces of what appeared to be blood. Still, there was no sign of Renice. Despite his troubling history, the detectives remained cautious.
Renice Bramblett!
Close the play! Come to the front door!
It'd be nice if you could find some drag marks in the dirt and some blood.
No, there's nothing.
His violent background raised serious concerns, but it didn't prove guilt. They couldn't afford to develop tunnel vision and miss other possible suspects. With that in mind, they canvassed the apartment complex, going door to door in search of anyone who might have seen something the night Michelle was killed. Most of their efforts turned up nothing.
His past history does raise suspicion, but that doesn't mean that he's the killer. Everything's pointing his direction, but I don't want to get tunnel vision and just focus on him, not look at anybody else.
But just as they were about to call it a night, one final conversation opened a new door. A neighbor mentioned seeing Renice the day before Michelle's body was discovered. He had been moving out of his apartment with 2 travel bags.
You see something out here, Honda? So you haven't seen it before? Okay.
You know who killed that lady?
No, sir.
She specifically remembered him struggling with a large one. It struck her as odd. Why would a man be having such difficulty with luggage? And where was he going?
Your husband says you may have seen a little something that seemed odd to you yesterday?
Yesterday, before 2, a little bit, I saw the one out the door, and I saw 2, the bag.
She didn't see Michelle or any children with him, which made the timing even more suspicious. This information didn't confirm anything, but it added another layer of concern.
It looked like a travel bag with this color. Woman. Okay. I didn't see any woman, any kid. Why have a guy travel with the bag like that? That's what caught my eye because of the travel bag.
If Michelle had died hours after that sighting, then where had Renice gone in such a hurry? The timeline was becoming clearer. He had been seen leaving around 2 p.m., while Michelle's body wasn't found until close to midnight. If he had skipped town immediately after the murder, it might suggest he was trying to escape something. On the other hand, if he had returned later, it could place him near the crime scene at a critical time. While awaiting phone records that should help verify Renice's movements, detectives received a surprising update from Michelle's sister, Stephanie. She had been tracking his activity online.
She says, hey, he turned his Facebook page back on, but it shows that he's in freaking Chicago.
And noticed that Renice had reactivated his deleted Facebook page. According to the location data, he was now in Chicago. This revelation raised alarms. Renice had left town shortly after Michelle's murder.
It's odd that this lady that he's with ends up dead, and then the next thing you know, he's bolting to Chicago. All these people are saying that Bramlett's the guy and he's violent.
If he had nothing to hide, why vanish so suddenly? It seemed unlikely to be a coincidence. Still, investigators needed to know how he got there. He hadn't booked a flight or rented a car, which left only one possibility. He took a bus. Detectives rushed to the local bus station and began searching for his vehicle. If he had fled by bus, he would likely have left his car nearby. Eventually, they spotted a green Cadillac parked at the lot. At first glance, the plates didn't match the ones registered to Renice. But when they checked the vehicle's VIN number, it confirmed what they suspected. The car was his.
How about a green caddy right over here? Is that a caddy?
That's a caddy, dude, right there.
It's green.
I'm like,
Dude, you remember the tag number?
yeah.
He had switched out the plates, likely to avoid being traced. It was a clear attempt to cover his tracks. Staff at the bus depot confirmed that Renice had indeed boarded a bus bound for Chicago at 2 p.m. on March 20th, just hours before Michelle's body was found. With this new information, detectives secured a warrant to search both his car and his apartment.
I'm looking to see if that guy got on any of the buses getting out of here. March 20th, in the afternoon. It appears that Mr. Bramlett caught the 2 o'clock bus out the 20th, headed for Chicago. Not a lot of folks, if they had nothing to do with anything, run for any other reason, change tags on your car, park the car, and then take a bus out. So
They were hoping to find anything: clothing, blood evidence, personal items that could tie him directly to the crime. But the search was disappointing. The apartment appeared overly clean. There was no obvious traces of Michelle. and even the trash had been taken out.
Car key, cell phone, female's clothes, anything.
Super clean. The trash in the trash can.
That's it.
Nothing stood out. No blood, no DNA, no signs of a struggle. Without hard evidence, suspicion alone wasn't enough to make an arrest. Still determined to understand Michelle's final hours, detectives turned to her workplace. They hoped her colleagues might know something, perhaps about threats, concerns, or recent behavior. Her co-workers described Renice as someone who wouldn't let go. He had been persistent, bringing her flowers and lunch, and always trying to stay close. While Michelle never expressed fear, her colleagues had warned her that his behavior seemed obsessive.
All she told me was that they dated. She didn't really like him in that way, and they broke up, and he kept coming around, and that was it. He would bring her flowers, and he would bring her presents, and bring her lunch all the time.
She ever tell you guys, hey, I'm trying to get rid of him, he won't leave me alone,
No.
he's stalking me, he's doing this?
No. I told her that he was stalking her, and she was like, no, we're just friends.
She always brushed it off, insisting that they were just friends. The case was quickly becoming more frustrating. Everything pointed to one man, and yet there was no definitive proof. No fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no forensic evidence linking him directly to the crime. Just when detectives felt the case might stall, Stephanie once again came forward, this time with a breakthrough. She had accessed Michelle's email account and found GPS location data connected to her phone. According to the map, Michelle's last known phone location was recorded at a local bus station around 1:47 p.m., nearly 10 hours before her body was discovered. That detail was crucial.
I got onto her email account last night, and I went into her location history.
Okay, we will head your direction, and I can talk to you face to face.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If her phone had traveled to the bus station, it meant she may have been with Renice, or that he had taken her phone. This new lead gave detectives a specific location to investigate further. If Michelle's phone had been at the bus station around the same time Renice was seen boarding a bus, it could place him even closer to the crime.
We're still waiting on Michelle's cell phone records, so the GPS information might be the next best thing we can use right now.
This was her Gmail account associated with that phone. And here's the map.
Investigators now had a trail, a connection between the suspect, the victim's last known location, and a suspicious escape. With every new lead, the pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Michelle's last known location, her phone's GPS movements, and Renice Brambletet's suspicious behavior were beginning to form a damning timeline. Her phone had pinged at the same bus station where Renice's car was found. He had swapped out his license plates, abandoned the vehicle, and boarded a bus out of town. Actions far from what one might expect from an innocent man. But there remained one major challenge.
Everything that we have so far is circumstantial. It's good stuff, but it's still circumstantial.
If he's not guilty, he's sure done everything to make himself look good.
I would concur.
Despite the mounting evidence, it was all circumstantial. There were no witnesses placing him directly at the scene of the murder. The forensic trail was thin. Investigators knew they needed something more, a definitive link. That link came when Michelle's phone records were finally accessed.
Well, I'm going to start typing on one for his records.
If we can get his phone tracking in the same places where she's at, that would be awesome.
They painted a clear and consistent picture of her movements the day she was killed. After work, she visited Walmart, then drove north to drop off her kids. From there, she returned home around 9:40 p.m., according to GPS data.
And then it shuts off. It has no activity until 8:44, and we get another hit, putting it right next to his apartment. Yeah, this is where his apartment is. Her vehicle is actually found right in here. So we know her vehicle's there. We know her body's in that vehicle, but her phone's GPSing right off his apartment.
Her phone stayed at her residence until 2:14 a.m., when it suddenly began moving south. heading in the direction of where her body would later be found. Then, activity ceased. The phone remained inactive until 8:44 a.m., when it pinged again near Renice's apartment. From there, the final recorded signal was at 1:47 p.m., right in front of the bus station where Renice bought his ticket. Meanwhile, when Renice's phone records came in, they mirrored Michelle's in alarming ways. His device was tracked at Michelle's home around 11:30 p.m. After that, both phones moved together toward the location where Michelle's vehicle and body were eventually discovered.
And then 1:47 p.m. is the last thing we had on it. They were right in front of the bus station where he got his ticket.
Thank goodness for sister hacking into her GPS.
Dude, I think we're almost there.
Investigators believed Renice had killed Michelle inside her car, then driven the vehicle to the apartment complex where he left her body. He returned to his nearby apartment and later walked back to Michelle's home to retrieve his own car.
We think that what he did was he killed her, put her in her car, took her car down to that complex, dumped the body, went back to his apartment, which is right across the street. Then we believe he walked back to her house to get his vehicle.
To throw off investigators, he took her phone with him and disposed of it at the bus station. This evidence, both phones traveling together and ending up near the bus depot, was the breakthrough detectives had been waiting for. It established a pattern, a digital trail that put Renice in close proximity to Michelle at every critical point. Armed with this, investigators approached the district attorney, who agreed there was now enough probable cause to issue an arrest warrant. The only problem was that Renice had already fled. What had started as a murder investigation now became a manhunt. Authorities believed he was in Chicago and quickly began coordinating with law enforcement there to locate him.
We believe Mr. Bramlett is in Chicago. What we'll do now is make contact with local authorities in Chicago and see what we can do to assist him in tracking him down.
2 weeks after Michelle's body was discovered, a material witness warrant was issued, allowing officers to detain him if found. Investigators also turned to someone who might hold more clues, Renice's son, Rondé. They needed to know whether Renice had made any contact with family. Rondé confirmed that his father had spoken to him recently, saying he had found a job in Chicago. The sudden move and lack of communication with anyone else raised suspicions even further. Detectives encouraged Rondé to reach out to his father in hopes of gathering more information. But Renice never returned his call.
So, how do you know Michelle Spence?
My dad.
This is what this is about, her passing.
Just heard about that. That's sad. I was pretty much crying.
Where'd you hear about that?
On Facebook.
Does your dad know about Michelle?
I think so. He should.
To the investigators, his refusal to answer his own son only reinforced the belief that he was deliberately avoiding contact. Months passed with no sign of Renice.
You're just gonna put this in your ear? Okay. And then just stick that up to the phone.
Hey, Dad, this is me, Rondé. Can you please give me a call back? I'll talk to you about something.
So has he got brothers and sisters up there in Chicago or Illinois or...
I really don't know. He just told me he's gone.
Then, after 3 long months, a major break came. Chicago police informed Tulsa investigators that Renice had been taken into custody. Detectives immediately traveled to Chicago for an interview, knowing a confession was unlikely, but hoping to confront him with the evidence and hear his version of events.
Myself and detective will be traveling to Chicago to conduct an interview. It's been a long few months. I'm glad that he's actually located and we actually get the chance to go talk to him.
In the interrogation room, Renice claimed he had been at work the night Michelle was killed and later went home, staying there until leaving for the bus station the next day. But his story didn't hold up. Phone records showed he had been at Michelle's house, then at the crime scene, and later near the bus depot, all contradicting his statements. Investigators considered the interview a success, not because he confessed, but because he had locked himself into a false timeline that could now be dismantled in court.
It goes completely against his statements. I was never here. I was never there. Well, his phone is showing where he went, and it just kills his story.
Yeah, I think he's done. Well, we didn't get a confession from him. However, he gave us a story. Now that he's locked into that story, and the story he gave doesn't jive with any of the information that we have.
Despite not knowing every detail of what happened to Michelle that night, detectives were confident in their reconstruction of events. They believed Renice assaulted and strangled her, placed her body in the car, and abandoned it.
We really don't know what happened to Michelle that night. My belief is that as Mr. Bramlett assaulted her, strangled her, and then put her in her vehicle and drove her off. What led to that, I don't know.
Then he returned to his apartment before fleeing town, attempting to erase his digital footprint by disposing of her phone. When Renice was eventually extradited to Tulsa, he remained indifferent. Detectives collected his DNA as per protocol and tried once more to gain insight, but he offered nothing more. His silence was chilling, a final refusal to take responsibility for the pain and trauma he had left behind. In September 2016, the case moved forward toward trial. While many questions still lingered, one thing had become clear.
You'll open up for me? That's it. Any questions for me, Mr. Bramlett?
You can see right there until we're ready to go.
Renice's actions told the story his words refused to share. Through tireless investigation, digital evidence, and the dedication of a grieving family, detectives had finally connected the dots. When Renice Bramblett's trial began, prosecutors built their case not on physical evidence, but on an overwhelming trail of digital footprints and a sequence of circumstantial facts that all pointed in his direction. Despite the lack of forensic proof, the case against him was powerful. Every detail of Michelle's final hours, every GPS ping, and every action Renice took after her death worked together to form a compelling picture of guilt. In a surprising move, Renice chose to take the stand in his own defense. He spun a desperate narrative, claiming that he and Michelle had used PCP on the night of her death. He said she left to meet a drug dealer, leaving her phone behind, and that he later discovered her car abandoned. He insisted that he panicked and fled to Chicago out of fear that the murder would be pinned on him. But the jury saw through the story. There were too many inconsistencies. Renice never tried to contact Michelle after that night. He made no effort to explain her absence or report the abandoned car. Instead, he carefully erased his digital trail, switched license plates, and disappeared into another city. His actions spoke volumes. After just 4 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Renice was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Michelle's family, it was a moment of long-awaited justice. The man who had taken her life would never walk free again. In the aftermath, Michelle's mother stepped up to raise her 2 grandsons. Though the journey has been painful, she finds comfort in the love that still surrounds them.
The moment she died was only one moment of her life. All the other years we had with her, all the fun things we did, all the things she did as their mom, those are the things we're going to remember.
Michelle's life may have ended in tragedy, but her spirit lives on through her children.